Nikita rocking what I can only describe as Bubba Dudley cosplay. Hey, what's up, everybody? Onepeg here. So, there was a podcast today from BSG. Nikita sat down for about an hour and a half to talk to everyone about plans for Tarkov for the future, as well as stuff that they're looking at doing in the immediate future. TLDR for everyone, there were 4 codes that you might want to try and see if you can still get them. The first one is Killa, like the boss. The second one is Bitcoin. The third one is Ground Zero, like the map. And the fourth one is Abdalbos, like the stim. I'm going to do something a little bit different with this this summary video where I'll pull some clips and whatnot, show you guys some visuals, try to get through this as quick as I can, but I want to hear or have you guys hear some of the stuff from the mouth of the man just to make sure that I don't end up getting it wrong. I also would like to say that this looked as though Nikita is actually trying to listen to everyone. He's being very engaging on Twitter. He's having a lot of people ask a lot of questions. Seems as though he's trying to listen. Dare I say, it appears as though he might actually be trying to pay attention to the player base. It's unfortunate that it took this snafu that's been going on for the last 3 weeks or so to get to this point, but it seems as though maybe he's learned his lesson. Now, obviously, they have to prove it, and there's got to be a lot of action because words are really meaningless without anything behind it, but I'd like to believe that maybe they're doing something positive. Anyway, on to the summary. First thing Nikita said was the PC gaming show, courtesy of PC Gamer on Sunday, June 9th, is 1 p.m. PST, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. GMT. They are going to have some type of a showcase for that show, so tune in if you're interested. They are also going to TwitchCon EU as well as TwitchCon San Diego. They're listed as sponsors for both events. They're going to be putting on some stuff with Arena. And they also mentioned that that Arena was going to feature a new game mode, which is a bomb planting game mode. I'll have a screenshot of that, as well as a new map location. He also went on to say at this point that Arena wasn't about esports originally. He also elaborated on the integrating of Arena and EFT. Now, for those of you that were unaware, the original selling point of Arena for all of us was that it was going to be integrated with Escape from Tarkov proper. So if somebody wanted to just play Arena, they could, but if someone had EFT, they would have the ability to port their PMC into Arena and compete with their PMC in Arena. Now, they're going to normalize a lot of the stats, but progress of those stats, like if you're using your PMC a lot in Arena to run around and gun and whatnot, the progression of XP for things like stamina and endurance, strength, weapon handling, those kinds of things will end up being transferred over to EFT. So all of the progress in Arena still kind of keeps, as well as coins, tokens, rewards, whatever money that you earn in Arena can also be transferred to EFT as well. He then showed a new trader. Now, this new trader named Ref offers special crates. You have the ability to transfer stuff. It seems as though inside of EFT proper, he deals only with GP coin, as well as these special medals. Nikita said that this screen cap was him at level 2 rep. He said that he only deals in GP coin as his primary form of currency, although he does have other barters. Arena ends up awarding you GP coin, as well as a thing called a Liga or Lega medal, which can be used to purchase special cases and like loot scav junk boxes that can be used for hideout upgrades. He also showed this for a Lega medal that showed a special key called a Voron key that has, or they're going to be adding loot doors on various points on all of the different maps. But he did not elaborate on where those locations would be. Obviously, it's something that we're going to have to find. He also did not elaborate on what kind of loot was in there, but it seemed like it was going to be pretty good because these Lega medals seemed like they aren't very common. He also said that in EFT proper, for your PMC, there will also be a quest line for Ref to be able to build his rep, but all of those quests will send you to Arena. He showed a screen cap of these special crates, specifically on the workbench. It looked like you needed tools to open them with a bit of a craft timer to open them and see what is inside. So it won't be something that you'll just be able to open from your inventory, but something that you'll have to put it on a queue timer. From here, he elaborated on the synchronizing of Arena and EFT characters. He said that they were also going to add a daily quest to increase rep loyalty levels with Ref, and then those loyalty level unlocks will give you an access list to new stuff, as well as has the ability to have an arena master room. And the big thing that was teased before was the Theta container. Now, the Theta container has been in the game files for a very, very long time. This is going to finally be implemented in the game as a container available from ref only. And he showed an image of how the Theta container is broken up. So it's going to be a container sized between a gamma and a kappa, but it shows 1 2x2 and 3 1x2 slots for storing your stuff. He then took some questions from chat, and there was the mention of wait times for PvE being very long. He mentioned that he understood that they were, and they're working on modifying how PvE is set up. If you want to play with friends, they're going to have it set up where you have to dial into a server to play with friends on a served instance of the game, obviously. However, 70% of the player base, according to him and his statistics, is playing this game as a single-player entity. So they're going to modify the game to allow for local hosting, meaning it's a single-player Tarkov you can play on your own PC. Instead of playing the SP Tarkov, you'll be able to do this with Tarkov Core. And if you want to play with friends again, you'll have to dial into a server, but playing by yourself will be local hosted, so you no longer have to wait for server queues. At a later point in the podcast, he also mentioned that they were going to give mod support for all of this, but it will take time because they have to review the mods, make sure that it ends up on like an approved list of them, but there will be mod support directly hosted by Tarkov. And I actually think that this is a great change. There's a lot of really, really talented people in the mod community for SP Tarkov. Bringing them in-house and allowing them to work directly with the devs, find errors in the mods if there are any, be able to modify those along with or in accordance with the development team, give them a line to BSG to work with them on making sure that the mods that they're trying to implement work really well. I think that is a huge win. And it is something that possibly BSG could even tap them for if they find talented devs among them. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be doing that. He then went on to say that Unity 2022 is in the works and will be on the ETS servers soon, and then went into Unity differences. From here, he said that there was going to be an update to the armor system. The armor system right now being a bit too punishing. According to the player base, it's frustrating for a lot of people getting shot in the armpit or the clavicle, and the RNG associated with some of the weapons and their deviation with their accuracy is something that causes people an awful lot of frustration, I guess is the best way to put it. So they said that they decided to simplify the system to give players a greater understanding for how the armor protects you and zones of coverage. Not exactly sure how that works or what that's going to mean, but he did say that they're going to expand the coverage areas for armor plating to cover your clavicle and armpit hitboxes to make armor more effective. And then he said that they are going to be adding polls to the game with rewards for responding to them. While Nikita has appeared to be more communicative with the player base, he seems to be doing the majority of that on Twitter and somewhat on Reddit. But the majority of it seems like, is being done on Twitter. One of the criticisms that he has been getting for trying to interact with people on Twitter is that people try to just write like zinger tweets, and putting up polls on Twitter is probably going to not get him the exact responses that he wanted to get. So instead, what he decided to do, finally, is suggestions that a lot of us had been making, is to put those polls in game. Ask people to respond to them. And he's doing that. Now, in terms of the next update, he's looking at an update for early June. This is going to include a wide swath of balance changes, both to EOD Edition and Unheard, with the new items that they're apparently going to be adding, as well as some other balance changes, but he didn't really elaborate. He's also looking at opening the ability for players to purchase the PvE only mode for everyone once the local hosted option is ready for single player Tarkov to be a thing in actual, like, licensed Tarkov. The addition of the Nostalgia quest line is going to be available for everyone, which is a new quest line, the one that he touted before when everybody was kind of losing their minds over the $250 edition. This will allow you to get the bonuses from the Unheard Edition package upon completing it. He said that it was coming relatively early in the quest chain, so not something that was going to take an awful lot of time to be able to unlock it. And then he said this regarding cheaters.
Compensation for the successful cheater reports.
Now, that feature about compensation for cheater reports is something that we have been asking for literal years, which would be something really, really amazing for the majority of the player base. If they're able to report cheaters and get the reward for it, I think that would incentivize an awful lot more cheater reports. Obviously, there's going to be some false positives, people that are going to report everyone every time that they die because you never know what could stick. But assuming that they have a halfway decent filtration method for something like this, maybe it ends up paying off more than it hurts. He also went on to say that the current flea market is going to stay exactly the way that it is. The find and raid system is more or less gone, with the exception of quest turn-ins. But the flea market and find and raid and selling things on the flea is going to stay more or less what it is, as will inertia. He also said that the Hideout cat is currently being worked on, maybe the addition of the wearable Sturman jacket, which is something at one time they said that they would not be able to do, but if they're going to add it, I mean, hell, I'm for it. There's going to be the addition of a separate hardcore mode that they are working on adding right now, but no word on when that would be added. Now, they showed Hideout Zone screenshots for like this cultist zone that's looking to be added as well, but he said the functionality of this would be explained later, and then he showed this. We have the ability now to stage, or will have the ability to stage mannequins with gear. And after selecting how you want those gear loadouts to be, you'll have the ability to hot swap that gear onto your PMC and go into raid with it should you so choose. Pretty sweet. Also in the next update, they are looking at adding a couple of new guns. This one, the Uzi, as well as the M60, and then showed some updated animations for the Val and VSS, as well as the SR3M. And then showed this video of the bipod mechanic being added to the game at some point in the near future, as well as the ability to brace the gun on walls for added recoil support. From here, Nikita also had this to say regarding factory.
There will be totally reworked factory location with the new graphics, with the new layout even. So it will be based on the original factory, but it will be different. And we will keep the old factory for the sake of old nostalgia as the event, or we will think about it how we will do it actually. But there will be new factory, because the factory is kind of outdated in terms of graphics, and we decided to redesign it for the sake of, you know, for the legacy.
So we're going to see a redesigning of the factory location to bring it into, I guess, more current day. At some point in the near future, he also said we're going to have a location-to-location traveling event, which we will have the option to travel to multiple locations rather than returning to our hideout at the end of a raid through specific extraction points. He didn't say when this was going to start or exactly how it was going to work, but said that there would be like the elaboration that we're looking for at some point in the near future. Once this is live, once this event concludes, it will be in the game permanently. He also said that they're going to do a mortar strike event. There's a Twitter video that he showed where they were kind of testing it out, showing what it would look like, I guess, in-game. This is going to be pretty interesting, the ability to either call in or have to try to avoid a mortar strike that someone else or maybe an AI called in. Whether or not this is going to stay in the game permanently, I don't know, because when he uses the word event, I'm not sure if he means temporarily or if the event is someone else triggering the event to happen. He then also said this about the addition of tripwires and landmines to the game.
You will be able to install them by both players and AI. You will be able to tripwire the containers and the dead bodies too. And also, there will be like demining, how to say it in English correctly? Disabling or something.
Then we also have the addition of a new boss called Partisan. Now, Nikita said that this guy is a trap specialist. He's someone that sets a lot of landmines and a lot of tripwires. Even though we'll have the ability to be able to defuse them, his primary focus is to hunt bad PMC karma players. And one of the examples, the only example that he has given so far, is that the karma that you have as a PMC will go down if you end up sitting in a bush extract camping for too long. He didn't elaborate on any other way to either increase or decrease PMC karma, but then ended up making a riff kind of joking about how people will probably end up data mining it anyway. He then went on to talk about a lot of other additional changes and plans that they have for the next 6 months to calendar year. And then he said at the end of the podcast they were going to post an image of their current workflow, what they have coming down the pike. One of the things that he did specifically make mention of, though, is that one of the changes they're looking at making again in the relatively near future is that guns that you find, equipment that you find inside of containers crates will not be pristine moving forward once they make this change. It will be of varying quality levels. He then went on to talk about sound changes and had this to say.
Pretty big list of audio changes also. Detailed work on environmental sounds on locations. Optimization of the sound system for performance, refinement of the occlusion calculation algorithm. Adjustments of balance for active headsets. I know that you're constantly asking about this balancing thing. It will be in the game. Adjusting the radius of audibility of movement sounds depending on speed, surface types, and player position. And balancing AI and PMC voice volumes.
Now, when he talks about occlusion, That is like the ability to hear people through walls or around corners. You're talking about refraction of sound and occlusion when things are in the way, how that's going to get muffled and affect the direction by which you end up hearing things. I have no idea whether or not this modification of the occlusion algorithm is going to do much for the directional audio that sometimes sounds very confusing, especially between floors, but one can hope. When the audio in Tarkov works well, it is amazing. When it doesn't work well, it is one of the most frustrating aspects of this entire game. He also said that they're going to be modifying headsets and how they function, which is some of the complaints that a lot of people have been doing as of recent, as well as a large optimization of frame rate, especially when it comes to streets, but he touted that it was very difficult to try and accomplish that. Regarding loading screens, Nikita had this to say as well.
Another quality of life, interaction with inventory and hideout during raid search, as I mentioned. So you will have an option to do something while you wait for the match. You will be able to view inventories of other party members while you're loading.
He also said that they would, or you would be able to potentially, more likely, I guess, modify the difficulty of PvE mode when you're playing in single player, as well as modify weather effects and seasons even for PvE mode once they've got all the seasons in the game. He then showed a screen cap of some new bobblehead figurines that they're looking to have added to the game soon too. And then he started taking questions from Twitter that people have been asking on a thread where he asked people to ask questions. The primary one saying that he wasn't sure exactly when 1.0 was going to be released, and he also wasn't sure when 40-player streets was going to be a thing, but they are targeting that still. They might potentially add mag loading hand animations to the game so that when you're hand reloading a mag, you can move around while you do it. And he also, talking about monetization, said this.
What are your plans for further monetization of the game? We don't plan to do anything for the monetization of the game. I even remove my glasses. So right now it's stash expansions, clothing. There will be the option for you to buy PvE access for that version that don't have the access for the PvE, and that's it. 100%.
Now, that is pretty much everything that has to do with the podcast from this. Like I said, it seems as though Nikita might finally be learning his lesson when it comes to the player base and what it is that we want and just wanting to feel like we're being heard. Now, this obviously doesn't excuse any of the what seemingly appears to be predatory practices when it comes to how they were trying to monetize this latest package that they were pushing on everyone. But my hope is that in this massive backlash that they ended up experiencing, he could finally focus on developing a product that everyone can be proud of without feeling like they're getting fleeced. Whether or not he's actually learned that lesson, I don't know, but I'm hopeful that they can. Again, actions speak louder than words, and obviously we'll just have to watch and see how it plays out. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this one. Thanks so much for coming and checking it out. If you'd be so kind as to sub the channel here, that would be amazing. Maybe even hit the bell. In the meantime, if you want to come by and check out a stream, I'm live over at twitch.tv/onepeg at 7 a.m. or so every single day. Thank you so much for lending me your eyeballs, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.